Hello, welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot for April 18th. So, thank you all so very, very much for being here. I am so grateful for my, new subscribers, my new viewers, but of course, my established ones who have made this channel. You all hold just a special place in my heart, and as you know, I adore you. So, thank you very, very much for taking some time from your schedules to spend a little bit of time with me. So, have you noticed that Trump has just not been looking all that good lately? You see these shots of him going in and out of that apartment tower complex of his in Manhattan. Um, and he just doesn't look good. He looks a little drawn, a little peaked. That cocky smile of his seems to have vanished for a very somber look. But I have to tell you, I think, one of the things that we learned about Trump over the last 7 years, oh my God, it's like a lifetime. Um, One of the things we've learned is that he actually doesn't contain his emotions very well. That's why you get all of these funny pictures of him, making strange faces and looking like this, and because he doesn't know how to actually contain his emotions. And so I tend to feel that some of what we're seeing is sort of how he's actually feeling, which is drawn and quiet, a little bit reserved. He has his lawyers acting like, not only guard dogs but hunting dogs, and attacking everything that they can find. But it's not really working for them. They keep trying to. The latest one was they wanted a questionnaire. They created a questionnaire and they wanted that questionnaire answered by jurors. And I think this was for the E. Jean Carroll lawsuit, civil suit that's coming up. And, he 100 questions about, do you like Trump? What do you think about Trump? What do you think about the, like, no one's going to answer that. He also wanted their names, their employment, and the employment of all of their immediate family. So clearly, this was an attempt to get information on a anonymous jury so that, he would be able to, frankly, consider intimidating them. Okay, that's the only reasonable conclusion that anybody can draw. But having said that, I've done a lot of readings on Trump and about kind of where he's going and how he's at. And I want to take a look at his long range trajectory. And the reason I'm saying that is because, he doesn't have any competition for the nomination. Not yet. I mean, Ron DeSantis is running around the perimeter insulting him, but never saying, you know what, I'm actually going to run against him. I'm going to take this guy on. In part, I think because Ron DeSantis actually does not have the personality to be able to take him on, because Ron DeSantis is sort of 6 of one, half a dozen of another of Trump, right? He's a bully and he talks over you, but he doesn't actually have anything significant to say. And when he is confronted, he backs down and runs away. You got Nikki Haley, okay, and you've got Pompeo. So as far as Nikki Haley is concerned, I have to say that, I don't particularly have any feelings about her one way or the other, but I actually don't know that the United States is ready, frankly, for a female president. When you have a Republican Party that is trying to shove women back into the dark ages, okay? So I don't see that going anywhere. And Pompeo, I don't know. I don't think anybody was particularly impressed with Pompeo as a, whatever he was, Secretary of State, maybe? I don't know. Or head of something. I don't know. But whatever it was, no one was very impressed with him. And so that leaves Trump. And so I'm starting to wonder if Trump may end up actually being the nominee for the Republicans. Now, if that is so, I wouldn't worry about it because he's not going to win. But I want to take a look and see if that potential actually exists. Because all along I've said, nah, he's not even going to be able to run. He's going to be so tied up with all of his lawsuits and stuff. He's not going to be able to run. Now, and there is possibility that the Jack Smith deal, there are some stuff that he's pursuing that could actually make him ineligible under, I don't know, the Treason Act or something. And one of the specific things that is mentioned is maps, showing maps to people. And if you recall, I think it was last week, there was all this chatter about the fact that he had this map and he was showing everybody this map. And so that actually would automatically be a disqualifier if it could be proved. So let's just focus in and let's take a look at the Greedy King and see what we can find out, shall we? There we go. All right, here we go. Show me Trump's trajectory. Show me Trump's trajectory. Show me Trump's trajectory. For those of you who are wondering, yes, I have moved the bird and tree pictures. And the sign behind me is actually a channeled message that I received many years ago from both Archangel Michael and Raphael. And it says, the reward you seek is given because the healing is, I'm going to get this wrong. The reward you seek is given because the healing is all you desire. Very helpful for me to remember that. And a good message broadly, Generally when something's going wrong in our lives or we're in, we're having a problem or an issue, ultimately what we look for is the healing of the situation, the person themselves, whatever it is. And that becomes the reward, right? The reward is the healing. So anyways, enough of that. I just thought I would share that with you because surely somebody's going to ask me what it says. Okay, let's go. And I just messed up my cards, so I have to reshuffle. Show me Trump's trajectory. Show me Trump's trajectory. Show me Trump's trajectory. So we're starting out with one of his signature cards, right? The Fool. Okay. All right. So this just simply represents him, right? I've said that the Fool and the King of Pentacles are my cards for him. So it's interesting what these cards are saying. So they're saying, okay, so there has been a lot of work, a lot of very diligent work that has been going on around him to keep him viable. I think that's the word I'm looking for, to keep him in a place where he can reasonably run for that nomination and win. This is the work of his lawyers. This is the work of that inner circle that have not abandoned him yet. So there's a lot of work and energy going around him trying to get to a place where he actually has like a pathway forward, okay? I do believe this Queen of Cups is Carol. The Carol civil suit for rape and what's that word? Where you say something about somebody, derogatory information for that, okay? Ultimately, I think that her story as this thing emerges is going to shed a lot of light on who he is at a sort of a basic core level. This is the thing. He thinks that the exposure and the publicity are going to be good for him because he believes that he can control the message. And to be fair, if the media does not stop covering him 24/7, he's going to be able to. But his message is only going to resonate with that 20 to 25%, even within that strong mega coalition, grouping of people. There are going to be some people who react rather adversely to the details of a apparent rape in a department store dressing room. Okay, there are going to be enough women out there who have been sexually assaulted who are going to be like, you know what, this just is a bridge too far. They could have ignored all the girlfriends. They ignored the porn star. They ignored all that. This may very well be a bridge too far. But what they're telling me is that ultimately it's going to be the law that stops him. Okay, it's not going to be losing the nomination. It's going to be the law that pulls him in and holds him to account. And once again, it is the females that are going to kind of be his downfall. So whether it is the Carol discrimination suit, that's not the right word, defamation suit, whether it is Tish James, whether it is Bonnie Wills, they're going to be the ones that actually bring him down. And God only knows how many other women are playing prominent roles within, even the Bragg investigation. I mean, we don't know, right? But again, it's this female energy because he is so disrespectful of women that's ultimately a whole lifetime of that, a whole lifetime of treating them like objects, people to be used, arm candy, all of that. That may very well come back and haunt his butt. And justice follows that. Okay? Following that is the Emperor. So, this is telling me that ultimately you're going to see justice reining him in. Now, one of the things that's a concern is that even when Jack Smith does this and then he recommends indictments and then eventually the Department of Justice indicts him, this could take a really long time. And you are 18 months away or so from an election. So this becomes a problem, right? Because that thing can get dragged out enough that it may not impact him if he continues to push and push and push. All right. There's more news coming to him that he doesn't want to hear, that he doesn't like. There's more betrayal coming his way. So I'm not sure who's going to jump ship next or what they're going to say or do, but very definitely he's going to get some upsetting and distressing news, most likely about a betrayal. Ultimately he wants to rise to the top of the food chain so he can go back and, assign vengeance to everybody and anybody who doesn't adore him, which is about 75% of the U.S. population from what I can figure out. So I'm not quite sure how he thinks that's going to actually work well for him. But either way, he's going to be in a prison of his own making. I wish I could tell you that that meant that there was a guilty verdict and he was behind bars, or there was a guilty verdict and he was on house arrest. I can't right now. Energetically, the energy is a little bit wonky, but irregardless, or regardless, I always get that wrong and I get corrected by you English teachers out there. Regardless of that, it's of his own making. He did it to himself. And so it's kind of hard to have a lot of sympathy for him. Listen, he's going to continue to push and push and fight. And ultimately, I don't see where it's going to really get him anywhere. There's going to be a lot of chatter, a lot of really transparent attempts to put him in his place or prevent him from being put in his place. So you have like the Jim Jordan show on Monday. We're in New York going on and on and on about the crime rate in New York. And old Jim Jordan, I guess he doesn't want to look at Ohio because apparently their crime rate is 3 times that of New York. But he doesn't care about that. He just cares about doing Trump's bidding. But that's going to continue to create more and more static within the party, because he's pushing so hard for his master that it's going to continue to actually cause some friction that he may not be able to extract himself from. So there's that. Ultimately, there's going to be investigations or an issue with his money. So I know that Smith is starting to look at the donations that he raised for his apparent, defense and this and that never got used. And frankly, the group that should have been created where the funds were being directed, some of them were never even created. So it was sort of like false advertising, I guess. He was asking for money for something that doesn't actually exist. But he's going to have a bit of a struggle with his resources, which is interesting to me because, he still has a lot of money by anybody's standards, or by most people's standards. So this is going to be a problem. It's like he's going to be trying to figure out how to balance his resources, and whether that is, trying to minimize the damage from the lawsuits and the legal cases to, there being some sort of a look at where the money's going and how it's going. It may be that he just doesn't want to spend the money he has. But whatever it is, this is coming up. Ultimately, listen up. Ultimately, he is so going to be heartbroken. He just is. He is not going to get his way. He's just not. And so in some ways, were he to choose to run, he's got the nomination. And he ended up in a presidential battle between himself and Biden. He's still going to lose, because between him and the stunts that Republicans have pulled with, guns and abortion, et cetera, phony investigations, et cetera, they don't have a chance. And because the GOP doesn't have a chance, neither does he. And again, he's trapped himself, hasn't he? He's going to be defensive. He's going to have all these, word salads that come spewing out of his mouth. But ultimately, he did this to himself. And ultimately, there will be a price he pays. So, going forward, what do we have? Well, going forward, we have decisions that are trying to be made that he doesn't grasp. He can't see clearly. And that's really because I think by this point he spends so much time in that imaginary world of his where he is king. I mean, the fact that all the people around him continuously refer to him as President Trump is a problem. Y'all only have one president at a time, and I'm pretty darn sure it's Biden. But it's that kind of ego stroking that he needs, and unfortunately that he is receiving from that circle, that allow him to continue to stay in this bubble where he actually doesn't see reality. So as he goes forward, it'll be greed ultimately that brings him down. There's more secrets of his that need to come out. Partnerships. Got to wonder if this isn't about foreign interference and foreign help. Think about that. So on Monday, there was this big announcement made by the Department of Justice saying that they had arrested 2 people and I think it was charged like 47 others in a sort of a Chinese police station that they were trying to run out of New York that was, kind of going after people who were Chinese, whether they had ever lived in China or not. And part of their job was to put out all of this wrong information out into the media. Sound familiar? And by the way, this whole situation with the young guy who released that top secret information from the Pentagon or wherever it came from. The thing is that you'll notice that Trump and his lawyers, unless I've missed it, have been really quiet. And that's because it's far too easy to draw parallels between the two. He took something that wasn't his. Basically, he took it because he wanted to be the big man on campus with his friends. He was looking for the prestige. He was looking for the ego stroking. Oh, wow. Sounds interchangeable to me. Okay, so this is it. He's gonna become more volatile. What a surprise, right? But it's like belligerent. And he's going to become less and less capable of even sort of listening to his lawyers. Now, nobody knows at this point what was or wasn't said in that deposition he did in New York. And I believe that was the Tish James one. By the way, there was a video that came out on Midas. Why can I never remember it? Midas. Anyways, you know the one I'm talking about, right? That Midas group. They put out all of these little videos and explain what's going on. They were talking the other day about the fact that with this deposition, Alan Bragg can use the information on that deposition to continue to look at criminal charges for the same thing that he is going after Trump for with civil charges. So it was really interesting the way they did it, because they sort of said if Alvin Bragg had pushed when everybody wanted him to push a year ago or whatever that was, a lot of this information would not have been available. And so by sort of sitting back and continuing to build his case, there's more information that's coming out of Trump's mouth that is going to be used to prevent him from this sailing away to smoother waters. And the problem is, by the time he actually gets it in his head that he's in trouble, he's going to be so confused. He's going to be so obsessed with keeping his money, with distorting information, keeping his money, keeping his power center. And ultimately, it'll be the greediness that stops him, because the reality is that that's always been or one of the primary motivators of his existence. I mean, I guess the other part of it is that he really wants to prove to the whole world that he's quite the ladies' man. He can do what he wants. He's just that desired by the female sex. But all of it boils down to ego stroking, right? All of it boils down to me. Okay. So I'm going to ask just a couple quick questions of my pendulum because I'm wanting to get some clarity here. Pendulum, is Donald Trump ultimately going to receive the Republican nomination for president? Okay, that's a really small yes, like almost still. So the way I'm going to interpret that is honestly, it hasn't quite been decided yet, I guess, in part because realistically right now, there isn't anybody to challenge him. The problem is in order to challenge him, you have to come right at him and say, listen, the election was not stolen. This was a big lie. You're telling stories. You're a crappy businessman. Look at, you're getting indicted all over the country. And nobody will do that, because they're concerned about pissing off that 25%, because the Republican Party is shrinking in size and clout. That's why they're acting like such idiots right now. They're trying to hold on to their power. But so they can attack him, and if they don't attack him, he will attack them. Double down, right? Punches back, whatever the expression is. Okay. In the chance that Trump, in the next presidential election, 2024, is Biden going to be reelected as president of the United States for his second term? Okay, super big yes. Okay. I also want you to remember that a lot of what we're seeing right now, a lot of what's going on, and it's going on around the world, I mean, everywhere, there continues to be this pushback against governments who do not listen to their people. And that is going to continue. And that is going to put the GOP in a very, very hard position, because they're not listening to the will of the people. And Trump never has. And so energetically, that's not fitting the energy that we're moving towards. So that's what we know for right now. I hope you found this comforting, reassuring, interesting. In any case, that's what I have for you today. All right, so until next time, take care, be well, and we'll see you really soon. Bye-bye.